Hey everyone, we're here today with Taravella coach Joe Giummule. Joe, welcome in.
Thanks for having me, Anthony.
All right, so let's start with this year's team. You guys started 4-1 after getting all the way to the regional semis last year, but this early season has a little bit of a different feel to it from last year's team. So talk about the differences between your two teams and what you're dealing with now compared to last year.
All right. Well, first off, I have a brand new coaching staff other than one assistant that's been there for 12 years, and he's kind of part-time. He's there for most games, shows up to practices when he can. He's not a teacher, unfortunately. So, we get him when we can get him. So that's the first thing is, working with a new staff, teaching them my philosophies and, things that I'm about. And then as far as the team, I mean, it's completely different. Last year's team, we had 17 seniors. 13 of those guys were there for 4 years. So, they knew what I was about. I knew what they were about. This year, man, we really have just one player that, has participated on the varsity for, multiple years, and that's EJ Burns, our starting shortstop. We have 2 other returning starters, but they were Johnny Lopez. He started the last 10 games of the year. And then Anthony Quigley, who's a UAB commit, started about half the games last year, but he was in the outfield and now he's back in the infield. So it's been totally different. I mean, it is a really young, inexperienced group. And then we have one arm that's been there through the thick and thin, Brandon Medevere, who's a senior, and he's pitched in a lot of big games. But as far as the everyday lineup and defensive things, it is a young and inexperienced group.
And even with that inexperience, you see some good things early from your team. You had 2 comebacks in the opening week tournament, big comebacks, not just 1 or 2 runs. So talk about at least the positives of seeing that from your team early.
Yeah, you got to like that, because even with the veteran group, we fell behind in some games and didn't always necessarily come back. It really started in the preseason in Key West. We fell behind against Coral Shores, came back. We were down 6-1 to Key West, lost 6-5, had the bases loaded. So it really started then. And then, the first game of the year against Gibbons, down 7-0, found a way to come back and win 9-7, down 4-0 in the 6th to St. Thomas, found a way to win 5-4. Even this week, we were down 1-0 in the 6th to Wellington, came back, took a lead. They tied it in the bottom of the 7th and found a way to win an extra inning. So, these are all positives and good signs of a good team, that can fight through adversity and find ways to win, even when we're really not playing well. We haven't played well yet. So that's extra encouraging. We have 3 guys that are really carrying us offensively. They're all hitting in the high 300s and low 400s and driven in all our runs. Our 4, 5, and 6 batters don't even have an RBI yet. So to say we're 4-1 is, we're pretty excited about that. And once we get some of these other guys swinging it and playing a little bit more relaxed and more comfortable, I mean, I think we're going to be a much different team in a month from now. Whether we win or lose or not, we're going to be a much better team.
So moving over, we talk a lot about travel versus high school off the air, me and you, and I talk to a lot of coaches about it. And we're both big proponents of high school baseball, obviously. But do you still believe that high school baseball is the best of the two? And if so, why?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But first off, there is definitely a place for travel baseball. I do see the value in it. It's not necessarily, their freshman year or sophomore, junior or senior year. That's kind of changing with these early commits as to what's the best year. Like when you and I both played, you had to play travel ball your junior year. That was the year you would, that you would commit or sign. And now, I mean, they're committing kids in 8th grade and things. But one thing that I could say is, or recommend to a parent, or my opinion is, you got to be, you want to play travel ball when you're ready to be seen as far as the exposure. Like if you're throwing 74 miles per hour, really there's no colleges that are going to get super excited about that. You know, if you're running a 7.660, most colleges aren't going to get excited about that. So I think the value is in private lessons, SAT tutoring, making sure the GPA is where it needs to be, doing course recovery. To me, sometimes there's more value in that than the travel ball. You know, get with a personal trainer and improve your body, improve your strength. Those are things that, you know, outweigh the travel ball in some instances. But there is a place for it. Every kid is different. It's not a cookie cutter. It might be a freshman year for a kid that's 6'3" and throwing 90. And it might be a junior year for a kid that's now grown into his body and has really given himself a chance to show colleges that, you know, that he's capable and worthy. But if you're throwing 74 miles per hour and you're 5'6", you know, don't expect to get an offer from a college. You know, I think your money's better spent with SAT tutoring, a personal trainer, a hitting coach, a pitching coach. You know, get that velocity into the mid 80s. Then you have a chance, you know, to sign with, you know, to commit with a college. As far as high school, I mean, just the rivalries, you know, playing against Douglas, you know, that's a big rivalry, whether we're good or bad. You know, these kids get up for that. The travel ball, they don't really get up for games. It's more of a me, you know, showcasing myself, a show and go. They show up. Maybe they're in a lightning delay. Maybe they don't even take BP. They don't take infield, outfield. As far as high school, we're showing up 2.5 hours before a game to do early work. We're taking BP. We're stretching as a team. We're throwing as a team. There's scouting reports. I mean, it's at some programs, it's very similar to what they're going to get in college. So yeah, there's a big difference between the two. You're playing for the name of your school as opposed for the name of your back. And, you know, with the travel ball, you know, they're not bunting, they're not slashing, they're not hitting run. A lot of times coaches aren't calling pitches. They don't have scouting reports. It's basically show up, you know, try and light up the radar gun, swing as hard as you can, you know, and show off your tools. As in the high school, it's, you know, are you a team player? You know, do you hit the ball behind the runner at second base with no outs and get him to third? Can you put the bunt down? You know, those are the things that kind of, you know, are a little bit different between the travel and the high school baseball. And then once again, we're 6 days a week. You know, the travel ball is, you know, it's a tournament here. They're off for a week. They play another tournament. They're off for 2 weeks. We're grinding it out all year long. At Taravella, we have a summer program. We have a fall program. And then obviously the spring is, you know, go time.
Let's talk a little bit about the coaches. I had a really good conversation with Coach Judkins over at Palm Beach Gardens about this. And, you know, a lot of the coaches will complain about the travel ball system, but really, you know, about maybe 5 to 8 years ago, it was the coaches who sold out and started coaching all the summer teams and the travel teams. And you know, Coach was saying that it's a catch-22 for you guys because you're not making any money during the season. You're not making any money. You know, you got families to support. So you kind of were forced into, a lot of the coaches were forced into this because the money's good in travel ball. And it's a tough position for them to be in because on one side they're saying, you know, high school is the way to go. But on the other side, they're also participating in all the summer and the travel stuff. So talk about that balance a little bit.
Well, I personally got out of travel ball 10 years ago and started a college team. You know, I'm not in hotels. I'm home during the summer. I can work with my high school players during the summer for the kids that maybe can't afford travel baseball, aren't yet ready to showcase themselves. So I've stayed away from the travel aspect of it. But the big thing, Anthony, is, you know, when I came out of college, you know, I knew I wanted to teach. I knew I wanted to coach baseball. Travel wasn't really there. I mean, when I started coaching, I didn't get paid in the fall. I didn't have a supplement in the fall. I coached because I loved coaching. I coached because I wanted to get the players better. I coached because I had pride and wanted the high school team that I coached at to be great. Now it's very difficult to find guys graduating college that either want to teach or want to do high school baseball, because they can coach a 12U or a 13U team and make $2,500, $3,000 a month. And I get it. I completely understand it. And if I wasn't a teacher, maybe I'd be doing the same thing. But 23 years ago, that wasn't the route that I chose. It necessarily wasn't maybe there at the time. And so, I enjoy what I do. That's kind of the where we're at with the high school and the travel baseball, and the coaches that coach travel baseball that also coach high school. I get it. It's it puts food on their table. So there's got to be a balance, though. Once again, we need travel baseball. I want my kids to play travel baseball in the summer if they're ready for it. I want my kids to play travel baseball in the fall if they're ready for it. Because it only helps me as far as their exposure and getting committed to, to schools. At the end of the day, I want to see how many kids can move on to the next level. And there is a school for every one of our players, based on their talent, whether they're willing to go outside of Florida, and a lot of kids struggle with that. In the state of Florida, we don't have any Division III programs. Our Division II programs are as good as many Division I programs. And then our Division I programs are all in the top 40. Every one of them. Florida Gulf Coast last night went into Florida State and won. FAU has beat UCF in Miami in the last 2 weeks. They can beat everybody on any given night. That's how good the baseball is here in Florida.
Give me the best feeling the game of baseball has ever given you, whether it's playing or coaching. Specific moment that just you think about all the time, or just the best feeling you've ever had in the game?
Maybe when I was at Pompano and our win at Pace. I think they had like 14 Division I players and 2 first rounders, and many people probably didn't think we belonged on the field with them, and we went in there and we shut them out and won 9-0. And I remember seeing my pitcher do a backflip on the mound after he struck out Jeter Downs, who was a first rounder. And so, I think that was finally the point where I said, we finally got over the hump. We're there. We're moving on to the Final Four. And it was really special because the year before we were in the regional final, probably a year sooner than I expected. And we lost the Pace at home. Like 7-4. It was a pretty good game, but they had a really good kid on the mound, Chris Rodriguez, who's a big leaguer, So probably that moment right there was probably my best as a coach. Yeah.
On the flip side, how about the worst feeling?
Maybe last year at Douglas in the regional semi. I really feel that Douglas and us were probably the 2 best teams in 7A last year. And, not being able to really, unfortunately, I wasn't kicked out of the game, but I had to stay in the dugout. So I wasn't able to coach third. I wasn't able to come out and talk to umpires. So I kind of feel like I kind of let my team down. I wasn't there for them completely, just because it was kind of out of my hands. And that might have had a little bit to do with, how the outcome of that game went. And we lost 3-2 because there were some things that happened in that game later on where, a fair foul ball, a potential balk, a batter that was potentially hit, and I wasn't there to stand up for my team or to fight for my team. And, to see those 17 seniors go out like that after such a great year where we ended up beating 3 state champions and 5 nationally ranked teams. I don't know if any other team in the country can say that. I mean, I don't know. It would be hard to find, but We really had a great team of great seniors. And, unfortunately, we had to play Douglas at that point. It would have been nice to face them, in the state tournament. So to end the season then was difficult, but, we lost to a really, really special team. I mean, Douglas was a tremendously talented team. I don't know if there was a team in the country that had the type of pitching they had. I mean, they rolled out 90 plus, 5 deep, so that was a special ball club. It was nice that we were able to beat them early on, and it would have been nice to beat them one more time, and it just didn't go our way that night.
So I don't want you to out I don't want you to give me a name because I don't want you to out any coaches, but what's the most heated you've ever gotten by a tactic another coach used during a game against your team in your career? A specific situation.
Yeah, early on in my career, probably my second year at Coral Glades, we had a nice ball club, and we're in a really tough district with St. Thomas and Nova, and this is when St. Thomas and Nova were making their runs, and we had St. Thomas, Nova, and Cypress Bay in the same week. Pretty tough. And Cypress Bay had won a state championship the year before, and so we're in a game that week, and the game got out of hand. I mean, we were getting smacked around, and I emptied my bench already in the second inning, and the team we're playing is still running and still doing things that just let the game play out. It's going to happen. This game's going to be over in 5 innings. So I got heated. I got upset once again, trying to protect my players, and it happened. They 10-runned us as they should have. We didn't play well. And the coach at the end said, you respected me and my team and that we could come back. And I'm like, Coach, I emptied my bench in the second inning. You've got a kid throwing 93 on the mound. I've got the Scarbinos in there at this point. There's no comeback coming. So that, that situation right there, a little bitter.
Sure.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen. You don't need to pick off it. You don't need to run pick off plays and, make us look bad. Just, take care of business. You'll be out of here in 5, and hopefully we'll be better in a few years and, compete with you.
Sure. When was the last time the game of baseball made you cry?
Probably that regional semis against Douglas. That was tough. That was a tough loss. Yeah. Seeing those seniors cry. I think the last game of every year is a game where I start crying, or even senior night. Seeing these parents that I've had some of these kids for 4 years, and seeing them come in at 5'7", 120 pounds, and watching them leave at 6'2", 195 pounds, and going on to play college, and just seeing their growth over the 4 years, it puts a little tears in your eyes.
Outside of the game, tell everybody something you do that would surprise people.
Maybe as I'm remodeling a house right now. I seem to buy and sell houses quite often. I'm never rooted in one place too often. So this was especially tough. Usually it happens in the summer, but this time we sold our house and bought a new house, in the beginning of the baseball season, and we're remodeling it and moving it in. And, I've got a 3-year-old now. So, I mean, maybe that. I mean, I think, a lot of baseball guys fish, that's something I enjoy. I play poker. It's something I enjoy. I think, that's pretty common of most guys, but, we haven't stayed in a house more than 2 years, until I had the baby just recently. This is the longest I lived in a house was for 4 years. Other than that, every 2 years for the last 12 years, I bought and sold. Yeah.
All right, we're going to lighten things up a little bit,
Sure.
get people to know the real you a little bit. So I'm going to give you some either or questions. You just give me your pick of the two.
Okay.
The first one is seafood or steak?
Steak. Love fishing, but I love a nice piece of steak.
A perfectly executed squeeze play to win a game, or a diving catch in the outfield to save a game?
I'm gonna take the squeeze play. We had the diving catch in states that probably saved the game, but had we get the squeeze down, we would have won the game.
Rock and roll or country?
Rock and roll.
BP or IO?
I love hitting IO. I know the boys prefer BP. I'm going to stick with IO because I think you can mentally beat a team by, the way you take IO. Most teams don't see you take BP. So, I like to have the fungo in my hand and, fast tempo and guys, all over the place making throws.
Your movies, a good comedy or a good horror?
Comedy. I'm not much of a horror person.
All right, this last one, you guys have been close. You've been close in your coaching career to winning a state title, and you also love coaching. So this one going to be a little tough for you, but a state title this year and the end of your coaching career, or no state title and 10 more years of coaching?
I'm going to go with 10 more years of coaching because that means, I've been healthy. I'm going to continue coaching for as long as I'm healthy enough to throw BP, hit fungos, run the third base. Winning a state championship, it's awfully difficult. It's really hard to have control over that. So I'm all for coaching 10 more years because I know my health is good. And, I'll be able to take care of my family.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today. You guys are off to a great start, and we wish you luck the rest of the year.
Thanks for having me, Anthony. And, I hope we continue winning, finding ways to win ball games. It's a good group. They're finding ways to do things. So I'm excited. I'm excited about the future, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, we got something really special going here.
All right, Coach. Thanks for your time.